to the jail. I said, hell, I done that. So I can overcome it.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night live interactive sports talk. You on with the tag team champs? Y'all know me. My name's Stephen Box. Joined as always by my co-host, the one and the only,
It's your boy, Cool McCain. And from now on, we're going to make things simple. We're the greatest tag team ever.
the greatest. Should we go Bret Hart style on them? Should we go the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be?
The greatest. We need to sub that out for greatest. And in that way, we can also avoid copyright infringement.
Okay. The greatest there is, the greatest there ever was, and the greatest there ever will be. I can dig it.
You should, with a big shovel.
Old school fools. Got you. So yeah, man. Crazy week in sports, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight. For anybody that's joining us live, of course, we love to keep it interactive. So, hit us up in the chat, let us know what's good, and we love to talk with you.
And if you didn't join us live or the replay, you stink.
Yeah. The thing is, man, if they didn't join us live or on the replay, then they didn't just hear you tell them they stink.
That's the
It
beauty of
doesn't
it.
change. It doesn't change the fact they do. But
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
yeah, somebody should let them know though, and they stop stinking.
And then they could just come on and tell us how much they stink in the future.
It's true. It's true. So I think we have to start with obviously the big story of the past week, which was the whole situation that went down on Monday night. So I feel like this story has just been covered from every single uh angle. Yes, Craig, the Cowboys thing.
And not you,
Um,
Craig, because you're watching.
yes. Um, so yeah, so I think this has been, like I said, covered from like every single angle. But I'm curious to hear, like, what are your thoughts on kind of like how everything went down and how things have been handled.
So, I mean, I'll start from Monday, right? So there's so many people in different sports groups that I'm in and different things. Like, oh, the NFL needs to do the right thing, cancel the game, blah, blah, blah. The NFL has to gather information, right? I think they actually responded in a very timely manner. There were a lot of reports that people were putting out or saying that all the coaches walked off and decided not to play and blah, blah, blah. Actually, it's not really true. What actually happened was the referees were like, "Hey, we're going to start the game back up in a few minutes because that's the normal procedure, right? That's what happens all the time when guys get hurt." But the coaches were like, "Hold on," and the NFL was like, "Suspend everything, and then let's like get more information." At the point where a guy almost died on the field, I mean, it's pretty clear there wasn't going to be a game that night.
Yeah.
I think the question was always from the beginning, what do you do long term about it?
Yep.
And you skip forward, and we found out yesterday after some deliberation with the players union and the teams, they're just not going to play the game, which is the only thing that really makes sense. But we're really going to push back the playoffs for a whole week for one game. Yeah, it has playoff implications. Yeah, it sucks if you're one of the teams that may not make the playoffs or not have a different seed because the game wasn't played. But somebody almost died. Sometimes it's bigger than football. So they said that and they kind of actually followed through with that. So as fans, as fantasy football owners and stuff, hey, if you had some of the players from those teams, man, it just is what it is this week. I mean, I've had two quarterbacks injured for the last 4 weeks, so I don't cry to me. So, you know, I think they did the best that they could with the situation. It was unprecedented, something that hadn't happened before. So when those things happen, it's difficult to just spin everything on his head and just not respect any of the things that were previously in place. But now you have a precedent set for how to handle such situations. So hopefully it never happens again. But if it does, they'll have a way to handle it. And then also, big shout out to T. Higgins. He's received a lot of hate, death threats, and things. He's been at my man bedside, Hamlin's bedside the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, he's talked to him on I think it was Zoom. I can't remember which system, but I think it was Zoom. So he's been in contact with him. So has the head coach there, Zach Taylor. So a lot of class from the Bengals as well, and understanding that this is not a game that the Bills wanted to get back on their field and have to play. It sucks, like I said, for some of the other teams, but there was the only reasonable outcome to the situation. And then, I just want to shout out everybody, man. I've seen a lot of love for Hamlin from a lot of guys from different teams, and people outside of the world of sports in general as well. So I'm glad people ride together. It's a big thing that we always say, but people need to start doing more of it. Give people their flowers while they're here, when they can appreciate them. Because when they're gone, and he was almost gone, it's a different thing.
Yeah, and as Craig points out, props to the Bills training staff too. Getting out there, administering the CPR and everything, and really kind of, you know, we won't ever know for certain, but we have to assume that that immediate care played a very big part in his ability to recover. Which for anyone that did not see it,
Well,
he does have the breathing tube out. He is talking, so very good news.
it
Yeah, I
is,
mean,
man. It is.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. That at the end of the day, I felt like a lot of people kind of jumped on, and then all it took was a couple of people saying, "Oh, the NFL doesn't care about players and all this other stuff," and the rumor mill was off and running, and there was never any conversation about them actually restarting the game, but people were assuming that was going to be the case. But I will say this in people's defense: the NFL has set themselves up for this, right? Because we've talked about the fact that they love to run around talk about player safety, and then they do things that are completely hypocritical to player safety. So they set themselves up for this. And it did not help that Joe Buck then went and actually made the comment about, they're going to start back. And, the coaches said they didn't want to go out there. Scott Van Pelt comes on afterwards and he kept repeating that over and over again. And I understand those guys probably got the information from somebody else. And they assumed that because they got that information handed to them that it was accurate. So I'm not necessarily
I will
blaming
say
them for
this:
that.
anytime you listen to Joe Buck, that's your fault.
I mean, look, that aside, I will say that I did think that he actually handled the situation very well when they were actually live on air. I thought that he handled it appropriately in terms of just not really like over talking about it. Um, now, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's a very unfortunate situation. It was great to see so many people be on the same page. I only saw a couple of people out there in social media talking stupid stuff, talking about they should go and play the game and how people are soft now and all this kind of nonsense, right? For the most part, people were very respectful. Um, I like the fact that word got out that he had the toy drive and people went and like blew that up. So that's gonna make a lot of kids very happy, and I'm sure that if he doesn't already know about it, I'm sure he probably knows about it by now. But I'm sure that's gonna make him very happy to know that this thing that he was working on got so much support.
Yeah, I'm sure his boy Miles Sanders has told him, since they zoomed already a couple of times. I'm sure he's let him know. I will say, man, I listened to some interesting information. I'm not gonna go into details, but basically, if he's never able to play football again, he's not vested because he hasn't played in the NFL 3 years. He wouldn't get any pension or anything from the NFL.
Yep.
That's something that they probably need to look at doing something different with.
Yep.
Also disability. They only have about 15% of cases where the person actually gets disability from the NFL. So a lot of times you have guys that get hurt, get injured, if they're not eligible for pension, or they're on the smaller end of the pension. They may not be getting really any support. So I
Yep.
think this is a chance. I don't think they'll do it, but this is an opportunity for the NFL to kind of revamp some of these things to help take care of guys that are in these type of situations, guys that get injured and may not be able to play but a couple of years, but have a promising career that gets cut short by some type of tragic or weird injury. And I'm not putting any of that on this player because we don't know yet, but I'm just
Yep.
saying players in that situation where things like that happen, the NFL has to do a better job of looking out for these guys and their long term care. If those situations happen, it doesn't matter if it's in their first year, their fifth year, their 10th year. You gotta do better, NFL. You're bringing in enough money to be able to set aside money and take care of these guys, those ones that really need it.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on the whole Skip Bayless thing because I'm seeing there's two camps on this, right? There's people who are absolutely blasting Skip, and then there's people who feel like, you know what, Skip may be it may be a little misunderstood. Where do you fall?
Skip made two other tweets before that. That tweet that he made was a trying to find the right word here because I don't want to go too far left. It was definitely not necessary. I'm gonna just put it like that. You did not need to say that. Um, you did not know what was happening at the time. You look like a jerk. You look like a douchebag for saying those things that the things at the time. Had you waited, found out what happened, and you're talking about that like today or yesterday, once we know he's stable, he's good, you're still a jerk, but you're not a douchebag. Skip likes to push the envelope, kind of try to be like the Stephen A. Smith on Fox.
Yeah.
This gonna bit you in your butt, buddy. All the people who are saying he misunderstood, go read the tweet. Go read the totality. Read the other tweets where he was saying like, "Oh, pray for the family" and stuff like that. Then you turn around and talk about, "Oh, get back to football" and blah blah. Misconstrued or not, if you don't put it out there, there's no way to misconstrue it. You said it. You didn't think people were going to give you the backlash that you got. So now that you've gotten that backlash, you're like, oh, you're trying to put out other tweets that obviously came from your PA department because it doesn't even sound like you. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is, Skip, sometimes it's good to just, now I know it's hard for you to do that, but sometimes you really do need to just,
Yeah.
oh, and also take these hands when you get ready to touch the keypad and just do this. Pull back.
Pull back. Yeah. I mean,
And I also want to say real quick, Shannon Sharp gave you exactly what you deserved, and I respect him for not going full in on you. But you sit there and you try to act like that nobody was upset with you, that the company didn't chastise you for what you said. We know they did. Stop playing, Skip. You got to be better too, bro. You got to acknowledge when you're wrong and accept it. You won't even own the fact that you're wrong, and you won't even take the tweet down. Or you've been asked by Shannon, several NBA players, NBA personnel, and stuff, and you just don't care.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, when I read it, like it sounded weird because it was like the first part of it sounded like more offensive, right? And then the second part, he's like, but all this seems like really insignificant right now. And I guess for me, it's like I look at this much like I just said about the NFL a little while ago about, they've put themselves in this position, right? So Skip has put himself in this position. Whether you actually were, meaning for it to come across a certain way or not, because you constantly want to have the hot takes, because you constantly want to talk all this stuff, you put yourself in position to get this reaction. And that's why, I agree with really where you started, which was you didn't need to say anything. There was no point in you actually even opening your mouth at all. If you wouldn't get on there and just say, like, hey, prayers for, whatever, then, that's fine. But there was really no need for you to get on there and say anything past that, if we being real.
And I also want to say, man, for the Cowboys player that tweeted, and I'm not gonna put the tweet up, but not player, excuse me, fan that tweeted it should have been Jalen Hurts. You, sir, are a piece of sugar honey iced tea. Okay, and you're a scumbag. You're everything that's wrong with society. And when you put things like that out in the universe, you normally get negative things back. So I hope you get your just due for saying something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, it takes a lot to say you are the person who makes other Cowboy fans look bad. But that person, mission accomplished.
It's
Did
just
you
scum, man. It's
actually?
just everything,
Yeah.
everything negative.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Cowboy fans are delusional, man. But, they're generally decent enough people. Most of them don't say stuff like
Yeah,
that. They're just
that's
delusional about
true.
their team. That's all. So,
Yeah, you made your fan base look bad, and that's hard to do. So, congratulations for that. Sarcastically, of course.
So, you know, I talked about earlier in the week, man. I didn't think that they were going to play this game, um, because again, it would have been moving the season back, or the other proposal they had, which I think was even worse than just pushing the playoffs back a week, was this nonsense where they were going to have like the NFC plus the Bills and the Bengals play in the wild card week, and then the following week the NFC teams were going to be off and the AFC teams were going to play, and then the following week after that we were going to have the division. Like, bro, that's too complicated. Like, just
I mean, the only other thing would have made sense was just to add week 19, just have that one game, and then start the playoffs the week after that. That's the only other thing that would have made sense. But that's too hard for the infrastructure, the cities, for people taking off, for people preparing for games. So you couldn't really do that either, right? It really was a situation where you were kind of stuck because people's already made plans, reservations, all those things. It was going to be difficult for all those people in all those cities to change those things. So
yep.
you really were stuck. I mean, honestly, you were stuck.
And I'm just gonna throw this out there real quick. So for all the people out there that are not happy about the way that they're going to decide these, for all the people that's upset that it's going to be a neutral site game, or that like the Bengals and the Ravens might come down to a coin flip and all this other stuff, if any other people complain, especially the people complain about the coin flip, if any of you defended the NFL's overtime rules, I do not want to hear you complaining about coin flips being unfair.
Listen, man, coin flips have been the thing in the NFL for a minute. Does
Yeah.
it suck? Yes, right. It does. Is them using like foolishness, like a win percentage and all this stuff? Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think personally, what I would like to see is just give them both a tie, let it fall where it may, right, and just keep on moving. I think sometimes we overcomplicate the process. Are people going to whine if you did that? Yeah, but people are going to whine whatever you do.
Yeah.
Nothing you were going to do besides changing everything and having them play a one-off game on some arbitrary day like a Thursday, and then turn around and play Sunday. People weren't going to be happy.
Yeah.
So do what made sense.
Yeah. And personally, man, I like the fact that, they just said, look, if depending on how the scenarios play out, and depending on which teams make the championship game, it might be a neutral site. I respect that.
I mean, I mean, honestly, once you get to the playoffs, I don't really, the playing at home is a slight advantage, but neutral site, I mean, whatever.
I think it kind of depends, right? I mean, there's a couple things there that you look at. I mean, obviously the teams, it's important too because that's extra revenue for them, right? But when you look at the actual advantages, I mean, there's some possibility there. Like if you're talking about a game in Buffalo, and that weekend it's like snowing and all kind of stuff, then maybe you say, hey, that's a real home field advantage, right? Um,
Oh, but don't forget, sir, with those type of things happen now, we don't play those games. We move them to a dome.
Depends on how much snow
So
it is.
that's, hey, as long as it's enough snow where it wouldn't be comfortable for guys to play, man. They're not going to play that. They're going to move that somewhere else anyway. So it's probably will end up being a neutral zone anyway now. And I
Because
mean, I'm
it's
not saying it to be funny. I'm just saying that's what it is now. That's where we're at as far as games now. If it's too much snow, instead of forcing people to play through snow, oh, we just move you somewhere else.
Well, man, I'm not gonna go that far, man, because the only time we've actually seen a game get moved through the snow, there was actually enough snow to lose Kyler Murray. Okay, so just saying.
All I'm saying is the precedent's been set. Once the precedent is set, someone else is going to do it. The league's going to continue to do it.
I mean, they might, but until they do, I'm not gonna go there. I'm For right now. I'm
Just
looking at
like
the
now, you
fact.
can't hit a quarterback anywhere in their legs because way back in the day, Tom Brady got hit and hurt. And now we have a tuck rule because somebody didn't want Tom Brady to not win the Super Bowl. So all I'm saying is there's precedent set and these things happen, and it's going to continue to happen. Slowly but surely, we're going to go to Android machines playing, holograms, or flag football. Slowly but surely.
I mean, if we can vote, I'm gonna vote for holograms. where we can finally,
I
settle
don't.
these. Where we finally settle these goat debates.
I don't think we'll be at that point when we're able to make a decision on that. So that's my thought.
So, looking at the playoffs, I mean, outside of trying to figure out who the top seeds are, what are we looking like over on the AFC side? Who's still trying to get in? Who's already in? What needs to happen this week?
Well, let's see here. So in the AFC, if the way things are now, if Kansas City wins or Buffalo loses, they clinch the home field.
Okay.
For Jacksonville, they have two scenarios to get in. So they're in the best situation for any team that's out of the playoffs right now. So if they beat Tennessee in essentially a AFC South division winner game, then they're in with a win or a tie. If they lose the game, they still can get in if Miami, New England, and Pittsburgh loses. So, I mean, honestly, that could happen. Tennessee, of course, they'd have to clinch. They'd have to win a division because they decided to rest everybody and all their backups last week. I don't know why, but that's what they decided to do. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's about as weird as not playing Jalen Hurts when you don't have a good backup for him. But hey, I digress. So for the Buffalo Bills, they can still clinch home field if they win and Kansas City loses.
Um,
I don't think that's very likely, but it could happen. Anything could happen.
Anything can happen.
Um, the Patriots, they clinch with a win or Miami, Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville. Miami and Pittsburgh losing and Jacksonville winning. So if the Patriots win and Jacksonville wins, then they get in because Jacksonville would have the tiebreaker over all of those guys. But if they win, then New England wins, that would slide them in, and
Is
Miami
there
and Pittsburgh lose.
is there a scenario that if New England loses that they can still get in, or
No.
okay? So
All
basically,
right.
so really for them, it's just winning you're in, losing you out. That's basically what it boils down to.
Well, win, and you need Jacksonville to win
Okay, so they need some help.
because yes, they do need help because if Jacksonville wins, even if they win, um, they could still be out. So you just want to, basically make sure that you win. Now they could win and get in, depending on what happens with the Jacksonville game. Right. All right. So Miami, they need super help. So Miami, they have to win, plus they need New England to lose to get in. Pittsburgh, they have to win. Miami and New England have to lose for them to get in. And this, of course, um, it's gonna be tricky, right? Cleveland did lose Jadeveon Clowney today because he said he's not going to resign, more than likely,
Yeah.
and they sent him home. So I gotta tell you, Cleveland, it doesn't seem like you're really trying to win here, sending them home. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Whatever stand you're trying to make, whatever you're trying to show people, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Now, I do have the NFC information up if you'd like that too, sir.
Oh, I know the NFC information, sir. I've got that. I've got that committed to memory over here.
All right, so please break it down for us, sir.
All right, so first up, we do have the current number one seed, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hmm.
Thanks to a decision that you alluded to earlier of playing their backup quarterback the last couple of weeks when maybe they didn't need to, um, because your quarterback probably could have played. They have now put themselves in a position where they need to win this week to keep the number one seed. Should they lose and the 49ers beat the Cardinals, the 49ers actually would move up and take that number one seed from Philadelphia. Uh, if not, the 49ers with a win lock themselves into the two seed, which would then lock the Vikings into the three. Now, the Vikings actually do play earlier in the day. So the Vikings will not have the benefit of knowing what anybody else is doing, but they also got the benefit of finding out that Justin Fields is not going to be playing this week. So hard to imagine a scenario in which Chicago is actually going to beat Minnesota. So I'm going to assume that Minnesota is locking themselves in there. But I don't think they can get the 1 seed. I'm not sure unless you have something that says otherwise. I don't believe there's a scenario in which they can get the 1 seed.
They definitely cannot get the 1 seed because even if they had the same record as us, we beat them head to head, so they could not get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a
Um,
scenario. I think it's pretty safe to say they're more than likely locked in at 3. Also, Dallas can get the number 1 seed as well if we lose and y'all lose and they win. And then
yes.
if we lose and they win, they can win the NFC East as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we win and they lose, we win the NFC East. Or if we both lose, we win the NFC East.
Yes.
Um,
Tampa's obviously already locked in at the 4. They won
yes.
the South. The Giants are locked in at 6, no matter what
Hmm.
happens in your game. So really, what we're looking at is there's 3 teams that are competing for the final spot. You got the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Packers.
Yep.
Um, so none of these teams can just. Well, actually, that's not true. The Packers, which oddly enough are currently the 9 seed, actually are the one team that
Hmm.
can actually guarantee their own way in. If they win, they are in, no matter what happens with the other teams.
Yep. Because they would have the tiebreakers. Yep.
Yep.
Detroit would need to win and Seattle to lose,
Yep.
and then Seattle would need to win and Green Bay lose.
Yes. So Seattle needs the Lions to win,
Hmm.
and they need to win the game themselves.
Yep.
Um, so that's pretty much how that's going to pan out. And Craig says, "Bring on the Vikes." You might be getting them because I'm hard pressed to see a scenario in which the 49ers are going to lose to the Cardinals this week. Um, but you never know.
It could happen.
Any given Sunday, right? Sometimes, sometimes those games that you just go, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be easy week." Those are the ones you get caught. But
Oh, you don't
I
have to
do,
tell me about that.
yeah. But I do think for the 49ers, I think the one thing that they had going for them is they just had that game and they managed to still win it. So they got their wake up call last week.
Go Cardinals.
Yes, as long as the 49ers win, you will get the Vikings, Craig.
Go Cardinals.
And then will you lose on another career long field goal?
Well, I think they actually get the Vikings either way. Um, I believe the Vikings are locked in at number 3.
No, the Vikings can still get the 2 seed if they win and we lose.
Okay, they left that out of the scenarios and they haven't
Yeah,
left
we
anything else out. They
yeah,
they, they
yeah,
just have they don't have Minnesota up here at all as if they're locked.
yeah. We're the team that has the most movability right now.
Yeah, they don't
In
have them
terms
as any
of
movability in the clinching scenarios.
yep. So that is let me double check their record. Yeah, because we're both 12-4.
You may have the tiebreaker over them.
But I wouldn't have the tiebreaker if we lost and they won. They would have a better record than us.
I wonder why they left that out. That's really weird. They didn't leave any other
Because
scenario out.
because that would put us at 12-5 and them at 13-4.
Oh, that would be fun. Well, they're probably going to lose anyway. That's probably why they didn't. Because they're going to lose anyway.
And
They're
they're like
Minnesota.
they were gonna put it and then they like 49ers
I
are
miss
losing the
Minnesota.
Cardinals. There's no point in putting this in there.
Well, then there's like even if they do, I mean Minnesota is probably going to lose because people will be watching. It'll be like a primetime game, and we know how Minnesota, you know,
Well,
in those
look,
scenarios.
you have to wonder because with all the other situations here, they try to put people with similar seedings on at the same time to make sure everybody had to play their starters. Did Minnesota like petition the league for a 1 o'clock game? They're like, can we
I
please
feel like
play at
they,
1?
I feel like they had to. Like I honestly feel like they went to the league and was like, we want a 1 o'clock game,
Yeah. Can we please have a 1 o'clock game? We will pay for it.
and they're playing the Bears, and if the Bears win that game, it's going to be hilarious. I just want to say
Right.
that.
Craig says that it's 1 p.m. So, Kirk Cousins will have his superpowers.
Well,
If
it doesn't necessarily
Whitty,
always have them at 1,
well, he
but
definitely
Kurt's
doesn't
second
have them out.
cousin Whitty, yeah, Kurt's second cousin Whitty would definitely disagree with us.
Yes. So yeah, man. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be exciting. Looking forward to it. I'm uh I'm a little bit upset. My game's on at the same time because I know they're gonna have you and the Giants, and they're gonna have the Cowboys on. So I'm gonna have to,
Oh, sir.
find some other means to watch my game. But it's
I'm
all
upset
good.
that my game means something.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because just a few weeks ago, the idea was, well, if the Eagles have everything all wrapped up, maybe they'll rest and help the Giants be able to get an easy win. And here we are, with the Giants having everything wrapped up. So Craig,
Such is life.
can you confirm if the Giants are actually playing their backups? Have you heard something that the rest of us haven't heard yet?
All you really have to do, man, is go to fantasy and see who's questionable in the Giants. That's all you need to do. They'll tell you everything you need to know.
Well, I mean, look, listening to Dable last week, man, I just he sounded like he wants them to play. Now, something could have changed between now and then. He's had a whole week to think about it.
Well,
But
Dable's not the ultimate decision maker on personnel.
well,
If his bosses come and say you need to sit those guys, they're gonna sit.
we'll see, man. I know what you're hoping for.
I mean, I don't really care if they sit or not, honestly, because we got Jalen Hurts back.
So he says, this is the rumor that Ojulari and Williams are out, and everyone is going to quote start.
Quote. Love the quotes there, Craig. I mean, if they play, they play. I'm just saying from a perspective of me being thinking of this for weeks because I anticipated being in the opposite situation. I'm sit my starters. If we can't help ourselves, what's the point? I mean, I'm not going out there and lay down for you, but I'm gonna take a little tread off of Saquon. I'm gonna let Daniel Jones get a break here, where it's warm up and chill. I'm not saying you sit everybody, but I think those are two critical pieces that you need to try to go pull an upset and on the first round of the playoffs. And playing those guys, I don't wish injuries on anybody. I never have, but there's always a risk. So it's a situation where I wouldn't want any of my starters to play. I wouldn't want my starting line to play, any of my starting wide receivers. Heck, I wouldn't even want my starting defense to play if the roles were reversed. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't make sense for the Giants to play, and it's not because I'm like, if they play their backups, we can win. If they play their backups, and for some reason we have to play Gardner Minshew, it's still going to be a shootout because Gardner Minshew's the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this, right? I say at the end of the day, it does make sense for them to rest their people, right? But I also look at this from the other perspective of why might they actually play them? This is a first year coach. They're in the playoffs. They're building a culture, and sometimes when you get into these situations, these decisions get made based on you're trying to keep this momentum going. You're trying to go into the playoffs with with the win and all that kind of stuff. And we don't know yet how Dable's going to handle this situation. So that's the only reason why I'm still not 100% sure how they're going to go with it. But I agree that it would make sense for them to just put their backups in and not risk getting these guys hurt. I don't
I mean,
disagree
yeah,
with what you're saying.
I don't really know what they're going to do either. But if you go out there and you get somebody hurt, then you're going to look like a clown when you had the chance to rest them. And there's a lot of talk this week about doing so. And there goes all your momentum out of the window. Because
Tyrod
the
Taylor
Giants,
versus Minshew is excited as Flacco versus Skylar Thompson.
I don't know, Craig, because I mean Tyrod Taylor's decent and Gardner Minshew's so you know, and we don't want to run the ball with Gardner Minshew. By the way, we decided we're gonna throw it over 30 times to Gardner Minshew, so
Yeah.
there's that as well.
Y'all did like the exact opposite of what the Cowboys do with Cooper Rush.
And we had the exact opposite ending
Yes.
because we did the exact opposite. Yeah.
So yeah, so exciting weekend coming up, man. So be interesting to see how things play out here, and you know, just looking forward to wild card weekend where hopefully I have a bye week. But go Giants.
So man, when the Cardinals do their thing, it doesn't matter.
So before we shift over away from football, I did want to kind of touch real quick on some college football stuff. We just had some big bowl games, and we got the national championship game coming up on Monday. So, the Ohio State Georgia game ended up being pretty exciting. A lot of people enjoyed that, and then the Michigan TCU game. I do know a lot of people actually predicted TCU to win that game. So not necessarily a huge surprise for a lot of people, but I think the thing that really stands out for me is there was some really bad officiating in both of those games. Especially in regards to targeting, which I find kind of ironic because earlier this year we were actually crediting college football with how they usually get targeting right and how the NFL needs to take a page from their book. And now all of a sudden we have all these missed calls. Uh,
That's what we get for praising them.
yeah. So that Michigan game, that was clearly targeting. I mean, that one wasn't even questionable. I don't know how you don't throw the flag on that one. Uh, so that game could have potentially turned out differently had that actually got called. The Ohio State game, I don't know that it was targeting on the Marvin Harrison Jr. hit. I haven't seen an angle that convinces me that there was actually head-to-head contact. But what I will say is, by the rules of what you've been putting in place, it was definitely unnecessary roughness on a defenseless receiver. And there probably should have at least been a 15-yard penalty on that play. But this is what I'm going to say to all the Ohio State fans out there. I know you're upset about it. I know you feel like that, there was a missed opportunity there or whatever. And that it may have ended up even costing you the game. And that's all fair. But the reality is 15 yards wasn't bringing Marvin Harrison Jr. back into that game for you. Now, I do think that if he doesn't get hurt, and I think that if Stover doesn't get hurt, Ohio State wins that game.
For me, man, there's enough talent on the team that giving them that penalty and allowing them to continue with the ball could have made a big difference. Um,
And that's why I
we're
said it's
not
fair
looking.
to complain
Yeah,
about it.
it's not a situation where it's a one trick pony, and if he can't do it, then it's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? There's a lot of 5-star athletes on Ohio State now too. So I think give them getting another opportunity would have worked out for them. But at the same time, I mean, when you put your best receiver in that situation and that type of play, I mean, what are you thinking too?
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have had him for the championship even if you did win, because you put him in that kind of bad situation, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of coaches, a lot of coordinators, whoever's drawing up the plays, just do stupid things. And obviously, you're not doing it saying, "Oh, I don't care if this kid gets hurt," but you're just making stupid decisions on what you're doing. If you're going to go out there and do that kind of play, Marvin Harrison Jr., your best wide receiver, should not be in the game. You should sit those guys down and put your other guys in those situations, because you're basically in those situations really trying to draw a penalty. That's what you're really trying to do. So why have your best players out there? Because if you get a penalty of targeting, 9 times out of 10, what happens to a wide receiver or a running back when they're the victim of targeting? They're done at least for the game.
Yeah.
Is that what you really wanted?
Yeah. Yeah. But we saw another couple of games. The USC game. There was a mistargeting call in that game, and then there was one other game I can't think of right off the top of my head. But there was like 4 games this past week that had targeting calls that were clear targeting calls that got missed. Something that definitely needs to get cleaned up.
Ohio State missed it by that much.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Ohio State. Look,
It was funny, but it's not funny.
bro, your kicker super choked. Super choked.
You don't put the kid in that situation, though. That's still, again, it's on coach. You don't put the kid in this situation. You try to make plays on the other downs to at least get a better field goal.
Yeah.
They had opportunities for CJ Stroud to do things, that you just made him play safe, right?
Yep.
And you got the outcome that you deserve based on what you did. You go out there, you at least let him run because he's having a great day running the ball. You let him try
Yeah.
to run, maybe make a throw, try to get closer, at least make it like a more like a just extra point field goal if you can't get in the end zone. But you don't just say, oh, we're gonna just play it safe and go for a 48-yard field goal with a college kid.
Yeah.
Another bad coaching decision that cost you. A lot of
Yeah.
personnel or coaching strategies were questionable for Ohio State in that last about 6 minutes of the game because he outcoached, the other coach for like all but the last 6 minutes. But guess
Yep.
what? The last 6 minutes is what cost you a trip to the national championship.
And Chris said he's still never seen a ball that wasn't tipped go through the air like that. It was horizontal.
Craig, have you watched Nick Foles throw?
Pretty sure he just means on kicks. We're not talking about the Duck Master.
Fair enough. I know. I just had to throw that reference in there. But yeah, it may have gotten tipped, Craig. But still, man, you don't from that distance. You don't want that kid taking that kick from that distance.
No, and the thing is one thing to put him out there for the game winning field goal in that position. It's another thing, like you said, to just basically shut the offense down and go super conservative and settle for that. Like, be
Yeah.
aggressive. Like, try to get him closer. What are you doing?
We didn't want to take a sack. Well, then don't. Yeah, he pretty much did.
So, what are your thoughts on the national championship? What kind of chance are you giving TCU?
I would love to see TCU win. Because it would just be great to not have an SEC champion. I think they have a fairly good chance. Sometimes what you're just talking about with the Giants, momentum. You're winning. You're getting there. You're not getting there because you had a field goal get blocked or missed at the end of the game. You're there because you outplayed the other team thoroughly,
Mhm.
and that's momentum. You can see the things that you did well in that game. You've got a lot of tape, a lot of time to watch Georgia. So it's just a matter of going out there and executing better than them. Georgia has been prone to giving other teams the lead, spotting them the ball, even if they get the ball first, a turnover or 3 and out early. That's been one of their MOs this season. So if you can take advantage of that and continue to play, and if your coach can not Ryan Day at the last 6 minutes of the game, I mean, I think you've got a good chance because honestly, Georgia is there on a wing and a prayer. They should be at home.
Well, I don't think the Georgia fans can complain about TCU getting in if they actually win this game because your whole argument would basically be contingent on saying that they got in.
Hmm.
And but if they win the national championship, they clearly deserve to be in. So I would welcome any Georgia fan that wants to have that argument with me. I would enjoy that one quite a bit. But
I'd welcome them on the show so we can
yes,
have that disagreement with them live in living color. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you want to play the best teams theoretically, right?
yep,
So after what TCU did to Michigan, they're one of the best teams. There's other teams you could try to argue should have got in, but look at how they perform in their bowl games. Win or lose, and tell me that they really should have been in the national championship. Now, what should have happened, and what we've pined for years, is it should have been an 8 team already, or a 12 team already.
yep,
There should be more teams that are playing for a national championship, and that's the biggest farce of this whole thing.
yeah, I would agree. Um, so my thing is, I feel like TCU actually has a fairly decent chance, and I'm going to tell you the main reason why I'm giving them a chance in this game. I watched CJ Stroud, who's not known to be a runner. He is a passing quarterback, right? Running
Hmm.
is not something he normally does. Run all over this Georgia defense.
Go out there and like Jalen Hurts on the Georgia
Max,
defense.
Max Dugan, on the other hand, very much is a running quarterback. That is a big part of his game. So if you got a guy now, maybe it was just, Georgia wasn't prepared for it. It caught them off guard. Maybe they'll actually do better about defending against TCU. But if he could have the kind of success that CJ Stroud had running the football against Georgia, they might be in trouble.
That's fair.
Craig Daniel Jones does not play college football, sir. Not really sure how that's relevant.
He definitely wasn't looking like Danny Dimes, the turf monster. No turf monsters got him, Craig.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but come on, man. Anytime you bring up Danny Dimes and running, the turf monster joke has got to come out.
It's got to come out, man. Come on, man.
Just set yourself up for that one. But yeah, man. So anything else, college football or NFL you want to talk about, or if not, I got a question I want to ask you about the NBA, man.
Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, you guys suck so bad this week that I'm more upset with you than I am with the defensive coordinator. And that, as everyone who watches the show or has ever had a conversation with me in the last 6 months knows what that means.
So here's my question for you, man. We know what was in reference. We know it is reference to Eagles and bringing up Hurts. We know.
Yeah, but when you try to put those two in the same category with running, that's just disrespectful.
So here's my question for you, man. Seeing some new power rankings. There's a certain team that's sitting at the top of them rankings right now. That would be your Denver Nuggets. That would be your Denver Nuggets, sir.
You mean the team?
How's it feel to be at the top?
You mean the team that has the Kia MVP rankings leader on their team as well?
Yes.
And Nikola Jokic, that team?
Yes, I do.
Well, it validates what I have been saying for over a year. When Nikola Jokic gets back his two co-stars, even not at 100%, but just there with him, giving him more weapons and the development of the other weapons on the team, as well as bringing in Bruce Brown, which was a major pickup, that the Nuggets were going to be a problem. And people did not listen to me when I said that. They smirked at me. They besmirched my comments. They called him tomfoolery, haberdashery, all types of things. But now you see, it was none of that. It was me, not as a fan of the team, but as someone who watches NBA, dissects NBA, and knows NBA, saying, hey, this team has all the elements when healthy. And I was treated as a joke for saying it. So in response to all those people, I want to say, take that, and taketh that once again.
I will point out that I said what 20 was it? I think it was 2020 that we had this conversation. Yeah, it was 2020 when the Lakers actually beat the Nuggets in the playoffs. I told you then that I thought that you guys would win a championship within the next few years, and y'all definitely got a chance at it this year.
If it wasn't for injuries, I think it would have happened. But you know what? I'm not going to cry about any of that. We're where we know we should be. We won't stay number one, right? We won't stay number one because it's the NBA. But we will hang around there.
Yep.
And all you need to do is hang around there. You know, the NBA is interesting in that there's a lot more upsets that you're accustomed to in these matchups, especially in the early rounds. So you can be a number 2 and number 3 seed and still end up, being playing a lot more home games than you would expect to play. But yeah. And while we're talking NBA, there's a debate that's been happening the last few days in regards to one Zion. I'm going to call him Avenue Close Williamson now because if we're going to call Anthony Davis Street Close because he's always hurt, Mr. Avenue Close has been close behind him in games lost to injury since he's entered the league. So the debate's back. Zion Williamson, is he too big to play in the NBA? Does he need to lose weight? Does he need to change his playing style? And I will say that the reason that we are number one, at least partly, is because he's hurt. because the Pelicans were number one when he got injured. We were number two, but they were number one when he got hurt. For me, it clearly has to be something done differently. It's a hamstring this time. It's been an ankle. It's been several different things, but I don't want to see a guy that's as talented as him lose a lot of his career due to his size. And I say this as a UNC fan about a Duke fan, so that's how sincere I am about this. I think this guy can be a generational talent,
Hmm.
but in order to do that, he has to play.
Yeah.
And in order to play, Zion, you need to change what you're doing, man. You need to slim down some, and you're going to have to learn how to play below the rim more, develop some of the other skills. Pick and choose your times. I'm not telling you to change your complete game, but pick and choose the times when you want to fly over everybody and you want to make spectacular plays.
Yep.
Just be happy with getting the twos, a little floater, a little layup, smack the board, keep it moving. You have to learn how to play differently, man, because I want to see Zion Williamson become who he's supposed to be before John Morant takes your spot because he's close to doing so. But just, man, get your hamstring right. Work on trying to cut down some and get yourself in a better, body frame to be able to handle just playing in the NBA. And also, a man your size, you have to learn to play below the rim, use your body, and not always rely on your athleticism so that you can prolong your career.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man. I mean, we give LeBron a whole bunch of crap, but it's pretty impressive what LeBron is doing at his age, and so much of that has to do with the way he's adapted his playing style over the years, the the money that he invests, the time he invests into his health, taking care of his body, recovering, getting right, and all that kind of stuff. And when you start looking at guys like Zion, I think that's a good person for him to model himself after because
Yeah.
they're both very similar in that they're bigger guys, they play very physical, and if you're going to continue to or you want to continue to have a career, you want to have a long career, you need to, start, figuring out what are other guys doing that's allowing them to have such longevity. And you got to figure it out, man, because the talent is there. But the dude just can't stay on the court.
A la Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis, man, for about, 3, 4 weeks, got himself into the MVP conversation. He was out there balling out and then hurt his foot. And, they don't even bother putting time frames on Anthony Davis anymore.
There's no point.
They just like any injury that Anthony Davis gets, they instantly like he's out indefinitely.
That's the wisest thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
You
once you're
never
injured a
know.
lot, too, sometimes it takes you longer to recover from things when you're often injured.
Yeah.
Some people have called him Mr. Glass. I think it's a little disrespectful. Not necessarily unapropos, but a little disrespectful.
Yeah. I mean, my thing with Anthony Davis, man, is
Stay healthy. That should
I,
be your only thing.
I what I've said before. I think that it's the way he plays. He plays to not get hurt, and then he gets hurt because he's trying to play to not get hurt.
Well, sir, if he's playing not to get hurt, that has to be the worst outcome for what you're trying to do ever in all of
It,
sports.
it is, man. But like, look at the way he plays, bro. He plays like he's scared something's gonna happen all the time. And I've said it before. I will say it again. Anthony Davis, stop falling down, bro. Just stop falling down. That will help a lot. Trust me.
Maybe he can't, man.
Uh, So Whitty has joined the conversation. Says eat your wings,
Witty.
drink your milk, take your vitamins.
Hey, Witty, man, we were talking about your second cousin, Kurt, a little while ago. Just want to let you know that.
Yeah, we're talking about Kurt and his superpowers at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I'm not quite bought into the superpowers at 1 o'clock, but I definitely believe that after 1 o'clock, he's the opposite of super.
So, any thoughts that you want to share real quick? Any surprises? Any ludicrousness that you want to comment on the first fan returns for the All Star voting?
No, because what I want people to understand is there's a reason that this is put out. So when you see, come on, Kirk Thuggins, hey man, you could call him that, but we know he don't play like that. Um, these are put out so that fans like myself have the opportunity to say, you know what, man, let me go do some more votes. Let me go in here and start voting because these people are crazy,
Hmm. Yeah,
and that's all I got to
yeah,
say about that.
yeah. I don't get too wrapped up on this stuff. For me, it's w- let's see what the final votes are, and then we can talk about who got snubbed and who got left out and who should have been hired and all this other stuff. Like you said, they put this stuff out there because they want to drive people to the website to vote. They want to get them clicks. They want to tell them advertisers they got more numbers. That's really what this is.
It's probably gonna work too. Real talk.
When he says everything has a bad day.
Everything has a bad career though. Is that true?
Look, look, look. Kurt Thuggins occasionally has a bad day, but he always has a bad night.
Kirk, Willie second cousins. Come on, man.
When the clock is third cut at Kurt Thuggins, 4 p.m. he turns back to Kirk Cousins.
Kirk third cousins at
My
4 p.m.
my my old man, a reporter for the Daily Planet.
It's really sad, man. It's to the point it's not even funny, bro. It's just sad because you know what's gonna happen.
So Craig says, can't wait to play the Vikings on a Saturday night wild card game. Will laugh so hard if they put that game at 1 o'clock. Will laugh so hard.
Yeah, if they put their game at one, it's rigged. Y'all probably still win, but it's just rigged if they put it at one.
Kirk is in the NFC Championship game on Madden.
I'm about to say on your Madden, and that might not even be the new Madden. That might be last year's Madden.
That's the only way Kirk Cousins in the NFC Championship game, sir. That's not
Oh, and you're playing on easy mode. Let's not forget that important piece.
super easy with all the assists turned on.
And you've got like your little cousin who doesn't even know how to play. It's like two with the controller for the other teams.
Craig, I got an advantage over you over here. I got a 20-second head start on anything you say. So
The Cowboys have a better chance than Kirk second to third cousins does.
well, man, we are actually at time for this evening. So want to say appreciation to Craig and Woody for joining us over in the chat tonight. Everybody else that tuned in is not in the chat. I see we got quite a few people that actually tuned in. So
Hold on. Witty, listen to this very closely. You disappointed us. You were the weakest link. You disappointed us. You stopped us from having all four teams in the playoffs. You're going to have to live with that as a fan of the Commanders.
well, I mean, I don't disagree with you here, Woody, but the Commanders are as well. Oh, and Woody, since you're here, since you didn't come, last week, I want to say I told you what was going to happen when we played y'all. You didn't want to listen.
This guy, man. This guy.
Craig, Craig, make sure we're spelling Commanders correctly.
I think you spelled it correctly.
That's what I'm saying. He's making sure we spell it correctly.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
you. Okay. I'll say, yeah, I think you spelled it, definitely spelled it correctly.
yeah. He's just making sure we're all on the same page.
The Commanders, man. The commies Commanders.
I mean, personally, I like to call them the Cobra Commanders, but it's just me.
I had to call them the Carson Commanders, but yeah.
Or sometimes I just call them the Commodores because like R&B, they soft.
Yeah, or you could call them the team formerly known as the Redskins.
Or the team formerly known as the Washington Football Team.
Or you could just still call them the Washington football team because it's a better name.
They probably should have just stuck with it. Yeah.
I mean, if you were gonna go to the Commanders. Oh, one other thing, Witty, and I hate to do this, bro, but did you see your mascot?
Bro, what is that thing?
Yo, I thought y'all couldn't do any worse than that statue for Sean Taylor. Boy, did y'all fool me. Boy, you proved me wrong. Cause that looks like the Porky dude from Bray Wyatt's Funhouse.
I'm
That's
like, bro,
horrible.
what in the world is that?
It's like a hog, pig, cow hybrid thing with a football helmet on. It's like mini size. It's terrible.
It's beyond terrible, bro. I mean, like, I really don't understand what in the world they were thinking with that. It
And
just,
the worst thing is, how is this the mascot for a team named the Commanders?
how's that the
What
mascot for
in
anything at all?
God's green earth was whoever came up with that smoking or injecting?
You know what it is, don't you? Craig says, made him want to make a BLT when he saw it.
Or some
That's what his thoughts on the mascot.
yeah. Ah,
Bro, that thing was horrible, bro.
that is a fair statement, Witty.
So this what I'm gonna close this out on. So my final thought here, and I'm gonna let you have yours, obviously, but when I look at this mascot, the only thing I can honestly come up with is they were trying to figure out how do we get all those people that are still mad at us for getting rid of the Redskins name, right? And how do we tie it back to that history, right? And the Hogs. That's the only thing I can come up with as to what they were hoping for. But your mascot doesn't look like a football team mascot. Your mascot looks like a local barbecue shop or barbecue restaurant is sponsoring your team. That's what it looks like.
Mixed with Porky Pig.
So any final thoughts that you want to add, sir?
I would. I just want to say we have come to the end of the NFL regular season. It's been a great season. It's been a fun ride. We have the other show, the NFL Matchup Madness, will still be on, of course, for the playoffs, but obviously just for those teams that continue. So shout out to all those guys and gals that were part of that. That we won't have back until next season. There'll be some changes to that, some revamps coming, but great first season for the show. Appreciate everyone that watched, everyone who chipped in, everyone who was a contributor, promoted it, everything. And also, if you're watching this show, if you're watching the replay, make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button and also the share button.
Oh, I do have one final thing to show you.
No, he didn't.
I feel like that is the most appropriate thing to leave on this afternoon.
It really is.
On a week where we've had a lot of heavy, serious stuff that's gone on in sports, this is how I would like to end our show tonight.
That's who we are. That's factual. That's not a lie. It's not a lie, Craig. Not a lie at all.
All right, well, appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and we will see y'all back next Friday night, 7:30 p.m. EST. Holla at your boys.
Let's go.